Good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Booth, and I am now in Zep 1, the van. I started traveling close to a little over a year and a half ago, and I was in a Kia Sportage. I'm a photographer and a freelance graphic designer, and I wanted to get on the road, and at the time I didn't have the money to purchase a van and travel, so I worked with what I had and what was within my means, and that was my daily driver, which was a Kia Sportage. So I built it out to be livable, and I lived full time in the Kia Sportage for a year and a half. And that's when I met Chris. We met randomly in the desert in Arizona recently. We decided to work together, and I flew up to Alaska, and now I'm in Zep 1. So I'm pretty excited.
A little bit on the story. So a lot of people watching this know my videos from way back in the day. Those have been around since 2010, 2011. Brad and I were chatting right before we started this video, and the seat that he's in right now, the first channel was built sitting in that seat, editing videos, filming on the road, getting that camper van. Because I had a van before, which, that was way back in the day. Cell phones didn't have cameras. I had a little flip phone. I purchased a still camera and drove around with my Husky for a couple months and sold that van and got, Zep 1, which started the fleet of Zeppelins. Now there's 4 of them. But Brad started filming for Tiny Home Tours, and his videos did really well. He seemed to like the work on the road. And Nate, the guy that I sold Zep 1 to, got a hold of me, and before I sold it to him, I was like, listen, man, I'll sell this to you, but the only way I'm going to sell this to you is if you promise whenever you're going to sell this van, I want to know. Like, I'm the first in line, you let me know, and we're going to go from there. You promise? He's like, okay, yeah, sure. So he told me he's going to sell it. The same day, I sent him the money to buy the van back, and then it was stored in Alaska all winter. I had no idea what to do with it. I was like, am I going to fly up and get it? Is it just going to be an adventure mobile? Is one of my friends going to get it and rent it out nightly and we'll split the profit? I don't know, but I want the van back. Long story short, Brad started filming, like I said, and I was like, hey man, there's an opportunity for you to go to Alaska and film for Tiny Home Tours all summer. You'll have a built-in income, you can travel around on the rig, and we'll make it work. And he's like, yeah, sure. I mean, basically things opened up for you to where that was a possibility, and lo and behold, Brad's up in Alaska right now, traveling around in the van. Well, he's not traveling yet. We're still waiting on the plates with this COVID-19 happening. The plates have been extremely delayed. Just a couple days ago, I got a notification showing that the plates cleared purchase. Now we're waiting for them to be shipped to me, which I will then probably overnight to Brad so he can actually bounce around in the van and travel. But, just touching base on the van right now, what was it like getting up to the van when you saw it for the first time? Because you just seen pictures beforehand. I think the first picture you saw was something I posted on Instagram about the...
Yeah, you just tagged me on a post on Instagram and was like, here it is. And I was like, oh. So the first time I saw it, it was funny because it was just I was sent a pin of where the location of the van was, and it was outside of Seward in a boatyard. So it was me driving around the boatyard in circles trying to find the van between all these massive fishing boats. And then eventually I found it behind a shipping container. And I pulled it up and I was like, whoa, it's a lot bigger than I expected it. And I opened the door and I was like, whoa, this thing looks old. That was my first impression. And then it was because it was sitting for 6 months?
At least.
Something like that.
At least 6 months.
At least. So just dirt had just piled up, and I just it was just one of those first things. I was like, well, here we go. This is going to be an adventure. And at first I was overwhelmed with the whole thing. I think that was because just getting to Alaska in itself was overwhelming. Because I'm from Florida, and I've been in Florida the last 6 months, spending time with family and friends, and having like a little transition period in my life. And I left 90-degree weather and came on in flat area, and then came up to Alaska. It's completely different. So in itself, it was a culture shock. And then walking up to this van, it was just like an extra step of just like crazy like overload of new experience. And it wasn't until I cranked up the van when I like and that engine just started that was when I was like, okay, this thing is gonna be sweet. That was the moment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, so to give people context, you FaceTime me and you were like showing me the van because we did like a walk around the stove, the fridge, the propane tanks, and I could see in your face you were a little overwhelmed, like what the hell did I get myself into? But I was just thinking in my head, like right now I'm back in Indiana spending time with family, got some stuff going on back home, and I was just like, I am so incredibly jealous of you right now. You have no idea how jealous I am that you're in Alaska right now, because when you got there it was nice and sunny and beautiful and you were surrounded by mountains, and I was just like, you lucky dog, like you have no idea. But so far getting things like the first initial feeling of being overwhelmed to where you are now, because you've been cleaning it out a little bit, getting your stuff in there. What's that transition been like? Like how are you feeling now? Because again, you're still not traveling right now because we're still waiting on the plates. But how are you feeling now that you're starting to get it a little set up?
Dude, it's night and day. Because I had bags, and so I just like threw my bags in here. And like the first night, I didn't even have my bed. The first night I stayed in here because it didn't come in through the mail yet. So I slept on this. Like first night was rough because I had to sleep on the sleeping pad. And it got way colder than I was expecting. It was just a really uncomfortable first night. But the first, I think, 2 or 3 days I was here, I had very sunny, warm weather in Alaskan terms. Warm weather for me is not warm weather in Alaska. So I was still a little cold, but it was nice. So the van warmed up a little bit during the day, and it gave me time to get things unpack and kind of find a place for my things and clean the van and kind of turn it into my own space. And that was a huge morale thing where I was just like, okay, this is becoming my home now. And I think every day I'm doing something to better standard of living inside of the van, to where it's more comfortable every day that I'm in here, and it's becoming more and more and more like home. So from the initial like, oh my gosh, what I get myself into, to me doing work and getting things done and fixing things and cleaning it and organizing it and putting my things in it, it's really become more and more homey every day.
Yeah. I mean, so I sold it to Nate. He had it for like 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. And the water pump is not working right now. Like they basically what I'm getting at is they did modifications that I didn't even know. So on that video chat, we were looking at stuff like, oh, what did they do there? And I'm like, hey, Brad, lift up the bed area so we can check out the water tank to see if there's any water in there. You're like, what are you talking about? It doesn't lift up. I was like, what are you talking about? It doesn't lift up. And they put like a new platform on the bed. The hot water heater is disconnected. There's just a bunch of small things that we were trying to figure out what they did and how they installed things to make it work, back to livable. I mean, at this point, we still got to get the bed lifted up and probably replace the water pump. He said that he disconnected the hot water, but the cold water worked. But he said he never turned it on since he did the modification. So who knows what's going on with the pump or whatever. So there's still things we need to get figured out. The Nature's Head composting toilet is on its way. It's going to be up there hopefully soon. It should ship by the end of this week. So definitely getting things figured out and put together in the van to make it home. But I mean, I think it's just a matter of time. Is that light on in the back, like to your right?
Yeah.
You got it to work?
Yeah, it works with the battery.
Oh,
So when I picked the batteries up, I had a light. It's the only thing the battery runs off. But it's nice to have. Yeah, I hooked up the solar too, so I have a light now. The first night I didn't have a light.
So have you tried turning the water pump back on now that the battery's hooked up? Like, is it turning on at all?
Yeah. No, it's turning on. Yeah, I have the water turned on. I even turned it, like, it's just not making noise. So we got to go in there and check it out and see if it's even connected. If it's not even connected or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and also we have a battery box on the way, a lithium battery box that's a inverter built in. It's actually in right now. Just got to go to the post office. The people that are letting Brad stay there, Ben and Rebecca, basically everything that I had shipped is shipped to their name, and the post office there won't let them pick it up. So in terms of your plans for Alaska, like once you get going, what do you plan on doing?
You want an honest answer? Because my plans, I don't have any. I have honestly no plans. Like, I have things that I want to do. Obviously, I need to film for the channel, and I gotta go get some tiny homes and film those. But I just want to do some incredible hikes and take pictures, because I mean, that's my passion. Dude, here in Seward, you can just walk down the sidewalk and see some of the best views in the world. It's crazy. So I can't imagine what it'd be like when you hike 10 miles into it. That's what I'm excited for. And other things that I want to do is I want to go up to Denali and the places north of Anchorage there. I think that'll be a really sweet area to explore. But yeah, just filming and taking pictures is really my only plan, but I don't really have an itinerary of anything that I'm going to get done. I'm going to do a lot of fishing. I'm excited about that. So the world's my oyster at this moment. I can just go wherever I want, and no plans.
Sorry,
when I was in the sport, that was my favorite time, was when I didn't have an itinerary or anywhere to be. It was just like, do the things that feel right and go to the places that you want to go. And that was when I felt the happiest, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, basically you're getting the van for 6 months. Once fall hits, driving it down through Canada into the States, and then just kind of going from there.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for Canada, actually. I was actually, because I'd been to Alaska before, like 6 years ago, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my favorite trip. And so when I was like, okay, I'm going to Alaska, I'll hang out in Alaska for a bit, but I'm really excited for Canada. So, but then the COVID thing happened, and the Canadian border closed. I'm like, well, maybe I have to hang out in Alaska a little bit longer. But getting here, I had a new outlook on Alaska just from the first day of driving. Like, I had been to Seward. I was in Seward 6 years ago, and I don't remember it being like this. I don't remember it being the place that I see it as now. I'm enjoying it like immensely now. And beforehand, I didn't really appreciate it. I don't know why that's the case, but yeah. So it made me more excited for Alaska, seeing it with a different outlook, I guess.
Well, I mean, now you're living there. It's not just a vacation to go see the high points and then leave to the next spot. Now it's it's home.
Yeah, that's definitely something different. That's definitely a different idea too. And for it, just boop, boop, moving.
Being that I'm back home, be in the Midwest for a while, starting up a new vlog on this particular channel, the Off Grid Schoolie will become Zeppelin Travels, switching over all the social from that. So Brad's going to be up in Alaska vlogging, hoping for 2 videos a week from him, his travels around filming. And then Zep 3 down in Arizona, have somebody either fly out or drive out, pick that bus up, and start bouncing around. So basically, it's just going to be Brad vlogging, and whoever else gets the other minibus. So if you do have any questions for Brad, or if you want to see anything in particular, how can people find you on social or get a hold of you social other than the Zeppelin Travels Instagram or the Facebook or the YouTube?
So the best way to reach me is probably Instagram, and that's the average Brad. That's my Instagram handle. That's where I post all my photography. And then YouTube, I guess you can message on YouTube as well, and that's the average Sportage. I don't post there as often as I probably should, but those are my two platforms that are probably the easiest to reach me.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to share with those that will be checking out your travels?
I guess just follow me on Instagram and look at my photography. That's my passion. That's why I travel, is to take pictures. So if you also want to support, maybe pick up a print or two. That'll help me stay on the road. I'm a starving artist is what they call us. But no, it's good. So just drop a line, say, hey, I'm always down to talk to people, and I'm definitely down to answer questions. That's why I'm out here. That's why my Instagram handle is the average Brad. It used to be the average Sportage, but I'm not in the Sportage anymore, and I'm not going to travel in the Sportage anymore. So just went with the average Brad. The reason the average is there is because I left with no money in my pocket, and I'm just an average guy. There's nothing special about me to be able to travel around the world. And I think that's one thing that I wanted to, like, the whole project was say, hey, you can do it too. Anybody can do it. You just have to make the sacrifices and put in the effort and do it. That's really all it takes, and things will fall into place. It's meant to be. It's meant to be.
You just have to fly up to Alaska to a sight unseen camper van and just bounce around and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, but that was 2 years after I left for traveling. Like, that was the thing. Like, yeah, this is a sweet opportunity, but it didn't come right away. It wasn't like a day one, hey, Brad, you want to go do this? No, it took me eating ramen noodles for 6 months, living in a small SUV, bouncing around until things fell into place the way they were supposed to. So, and then now it's just like getting better and better every day.
Yeah. Set out in your SUV and you ended up in a camper van in Alaska. I think that's something that a lot of people, they want the instant gratification. They want to start a YouTube channel or Instagram and get Insta famous or YouTube famous and make all the money and just live the resort lifestyle without putting the work in. And that's, I mean, there's exceptions to the rule. I mean, there's, that Jenna girl, Van Life, did a video about showering in her van and gets 7 million views, and now she's raking in the cash. But that is very far few in between. You got to put the years of work in. Like people talk about YouTube, and this is just something that I know. They're like, oh, I've been trying it for a year, and I'm only getting 2,000 or 3,000 views a video. And I'm like, dude, it took me 8 years to start doing that. Like, you have no idea. Like, I would be stoked for 30 views for a video the first 2 years. It's like you got to put the work in, you got to put the effort in, and like you said, you got to eat the ramen noodles, you got to eat the beans and rice, and then when you start eating the steak, you appreciate it a lot more because you remember where you came from.
There's something about living in the dirt, But I mean, you started in a small van, and then you just progressed up, and I think that's the way it is. Like, you just gotta do it and put in your time. But that's with any business. It's not just living on the road as well. I think anybody can do it. You just have to put the effort and put the mindset into it. It's really, but it's hard. It's definitely hard to do.
Well,
it's not easy to go, I'm gonna go live in my car for a year and a half. Like, it's kind of a crazy thought, and not everybody has that thought. So And let's be real, like there were times where it was not comfortable, but I think you grow when you're not comfortable. So
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of good too because I've realized like people always talk about how they want to do this lifestyle and it's something that they want to do, but when it comes down to it, you know, it's a blessing for me and it's a blessing for you that most people aren't willing to put the work in because that's where the rewards are. If everybody put the work in, it'd be harder. But I've realized, you know, if I'm willing to put the work in, 90% of the other people aren't willing to do it. So as long as I keep working hard and working towards it, that's all you need to do. Because, you know, just for example, I put a post on Facebook about hiring an editor for $13 or $15 an hour, completely remote, and the amount of people that reached out to me that said they were interested was, let's just for this example say 15 people, which is conservative. 15 people reached out to me because they wanted to do that. When I sent them over the raw footage and told them, you know, this is how it works, this is what you do, and it's not even like a intense editing. You're taking a finished product and you're just cutting it up into different sections. 0 people followed through. And there's so many people out there like, oh, if I just had a remote income, if it's some, you know, but when it comes down to it, they're not willing to put the work in. So it's one of those things where, you know, I don't necessarily feel bad for them. And it's like it gives me motivation to keep working hard because doing the things that other people aren't willing to do puts you in the spot like where you are right now.
I get it like almost every day. Oh man, I'm so jealous. I want to do that. And my answer is, do it. Then do it. Like, that's always my answer. Well, I can't. I got this. I got that. And I'm like, okay, well, not going to happen overnight, but make those transitions. You know, it's not like one day I was like, oh, I'm going to go live on the road. It was, you know, and you did this too. You had to do things and transition into the different lifestyle slowly but surely to make it work, you know, because there's things you have to tie up at home before you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've definitely become a lot more blunt when people present that, oh, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that. I have definitely, I no longer sugarcoat it. Just the other day, I was at my cousin's house. We had like a little family gathering, played poker, and my cousin's wife's coworkers, which were teachers, were over, and this young dude was talking about how he wants to go over and teach in Hawaii because he used to spend his summers there and how much he loves it. And I was like, well, why don't you go do it right now? He's like, well, part of me being here in Indiana teaching is they gave me a $1,500 stipend if I stay here for 3 years. I was like, 3 years of your life is worth $1,500? And he's like, well, not really. I was like, okay, so help me understand. Indiana is one of the worst paying places for teachers, and Hawaii is one of the best. So you're going to make 3 times in 1 year what you're sticking around Indiana for. Like, don't use this as a crutch. Don't use this as an excuse. If you want to do it, man. Like, you're not making any sense. And my cousin's wife is like, oh, don't listen to him. He's always like that. I'm like, dude, that's 3 years of your life for $1,500. Do you think when you're older and looking back that $1,500 is worth it? He's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, dude, like, stop talking about it and actually do it if you want to do it. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me, people's rationalizations. If you want to do it, do it.
It doesn't make sense to me at all. $1,500 wouldn't keep me to be anywhere that I don't want to be.
Exactly, like, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pay $1,500 to live in Hawaii and get out of Indiana.
Yeah, I'm living that life right now, man.
Oof, I feel for you.
Well, I'm jealous of you up there right now in the camper van. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. We'll get that van all fixed up and ready to go. I'm excited to see you actually bounce around in it and get that real Alaska life, not just bouncing around from town to town and just seeing the highlights, actually getting to know the people and out there working, getting work done. So thanks for your time today. You'll be vlogging on this channel. We'll have probably 2 videos up a week from your travels around there. So I'm excited to see what you get up to there and all the fish you catch. All right, man. Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks, guys.